Fund's Techstars Live. Just a little bit about the Angel Fund. My name is Erwin Dan at the Angel Fund. We're a nonprofit business advisory organization that assists companies in startup growth and crisis every day. And we're also a government lender and microloans up to $50,000. I want you to know that we're available anytime, online, on a telephone call. I'm here. I have cards to give out. Anybody needs any advice. I'm sure that after you hear these guys speak, everybody's going to want to go into be a Techstar tomorrow. So a couple of weeks ago, I got a call from Ezra Safdie and Albert Sutton, two young entrepreneurs. They said, would you like to do a collaboration on a program? Sounded good, with a lot of speed, a lot of help from upstairs. We put the program together. So without further ado, I want to introduce the two dynamos that brought this thing together, Albert and
Well, I'm very happy we filled the room. We were going crazy all day about that, so that's a nice relief. Thank you, Earl. We really want to thank the sponsors. It was expensive to rent the room. Matt Vogel from Hillel, who couldn't make it here. Also, Professor Ed Rogoff and Lawrence Field Center. Moreover, we would like to introduce David.
We'd like to introduce David from the Field Center just to share a few words with you guys about their programs and what they have to offer here in Baruch.
Thank you guys. My name is David Ben Israel. I'm an MBA student in entrepreneurship here at Baruch. I'm also the Lawrence and Field Fellow in Entrepreneurship. And for those of you who are students here or not students, I highly recommend that you take the time to go to the Field Center for Entrepreneurship. You can Google it. It's in the vertical campus on the second floor. It's a very unique institution. It's a makeup of Baruch College, the New York Small Business and the New York Small Business Development Center. And it provides services for anyone who has a startup idea or has an existing company. It's a great resource. And we're actually putting on an event right now. All semester we worked with AT&T on a pitch competition, and the finals is tomorrow. So I put some flyers out for any of you to see. Students here or not students to come tomorrow. It's from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. in the 14th floor in the vertical campus, and the judges on the competition are going to be John Arbach, who's a general partner at Charles Rivers Ventures, Sanjay McGwen, who's a VP of Information and Technology at AT&T, as well as Andrew Rasiej, who is the chairman of New York Tech Meetup. Professor Rogoff's also going to be sitting as a judge, and Joseph Ziskin, who's the VP of IBM Corporate Strategy. I highly recommend for you guys to come. There's going to be 9 pitches from technology companies. And I'd also like to introduce Professor Rogoff, who is the chair of Department of Management at Zipline School of Business, Baruch College. I just want to say a short story. My first class as an MBA here was in Professor Rogoff's class, and I can't tell you how happy I am that was my first class here, because he introduced me to the Field Center for Entrepreneurship. Right now I have a fellowship there. I've gotten, because of the Field Center, I've gotten an internship, an MBA internship at a investment fund. And it's just been a great resource. He's a great professor, so I'd like to introduce Professor Rogoff.
Okay, welcome. Well, let me just say, I got to say just one word about David. The Field Fellows program at Baruch really recruits the best of the best. I'm somebody who believes Baruch students are the best students there are, and the Field Fellows are the best of the best. And so, David, thank you very much. The purpose of today's panel is for you to learn about the process of starting tech ventures, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And we have a fantastic panel that's going to inform you about that. And the structure we're going to use is I'm going to introduce them, and then I'll start engaging them in some discussion. And then at some point I'll open it up for you all to ask questions. So let me, in no particular order, let me just introduce today's panelists. Al Falack is the director of CookieKids.com. This is a children's apparel and toys retailer. Prior to founding CookiesKids.com, Al was vice president of marketing for Cookies Kids retail stores, where he helped the company achieve the title of world's largest kids department store. Al also works as a private marketing and operational consultant to e-commerce companies. He holds a bachelor's degree in business administration from the CUNY Honors College at Baruch. Congratulations on that. Al Grazi is the co-founder of IndieWalls.com. I'm sorry, Harry Grazi is the co-founder of IndieWalls.com. Since he was 18, he has sold everything from kitchen knives, and if you can sell kitchen knives, you can pretty much sell anything, to commercial real estate. Having come from a family of musicians and artists, fusing art and business was a natural course of action for him. Today, his job is to make sure there is a suitable venue in New York for every talented artist that IndieWalls represents. While completing his BA, MA at NYU, Harry traversed the world of cafes, restaurants, and bars in New York. That sounds like a tough assignment. Always keeping a keen eye on the needs of patrons and owners alike, armed with a knack for small talk and taste for good bourbon. He continues to form a symbiotic partnership with local venues that are essential for his business model. Jonathan Hedvat is the CEO and founder of Live Enterprises. He's an energetic go-getter. He took more than five internships while a student at Rutgers, and unfortunately was interning in the Southern Tower of the World Trade Center on the morning of 9/11. Obviously, he escaped the building, thank God, and remembers the compassion of local business owners in taking care of people who were able to get out. At the end of college, Jonathan had managed to clarify to himself that what he didn't want to do. He didn't want to enter the world of investment banking. I can't imagine why. Rather, he wanted to be a pioneer in developing the online world, helping people interact with each other more efficiently and more meaningful. Live Enterprises is the parent of two job sites, CreativeJobCentral.com, which he launched in 2002, and JobWitch.com, spelled Jobwich, launched 2 years ago, expanding networking opportunities for the business community. Joe Hedaya is the founder and CEO of Unroll.me. Unroll.me is a consumer-facing application that is out to change the way you interact with newsletters and disrupt the billion-dollar email marketing space in the process. His first startup in the sports content business failed, but he took the lessons from that to move on to this current venture. Charlie Shrem is the co-founder of Bit Instant LLC and its CEO. This is a money transfer, online money transfer service. Known on the Bitcoin forums as Yankee, he has over 5 years experience working with startups and business development in the e-commerce industry. Along with Garrett Nelson, he found the need for a more secure, faster, and convenient way of transferring funds between foreign currency markets. Charlie leads BitInstant through a complex compliance, you can imagine, licensing and regulatory maze. Currently resides in New York and is also the Director of Operations for DailyCheckout.inc. So, why don't we just start? And I think the first question for every panelist is, where'd the idea come from? And what was the first steps of getting started? Because I think people look at a business and they say, I have a good idea, how do I actually bring it to reality? So, I can start.
So, I don't really think I'm a tech star, because I'm not. So, I'm an e-commerce guy. And when I was in retail, which I really, really didn't like, I noticed that I had to choose an opportunity somewhere. I had a great opportunity to go to a full paid PhD program, ride free, become a doctor. It would have been really cool. And then I had a bunch of other opportunities, but what I noticed in the industry was that there was a huge lack for children's apparel, children's branded apparel, school uniforms, the type of stuff that my family business sold. There was a huge lack for that online. I saw the opportunity, and with the help of company. We decided to launch a business online, which was extremely difficult at the time. We were sort of in the beginning, but not really in the beginning. We were in the beginning of a new wave of ASPX websites and websites that really were newer, fresher, cleaner, no more, Yahoo type of websites. So it was a huge challenge. We probably paid 10 times then what you could pay now to do the same exact thing. We got through a lot of road bumps along the way. But in terms of why we started, how we started, where we started, it was just because there was definitely an opportunity. We knew it. We used to have, and it really stopped a lot now, but we used to have buses, coach buses, people that used to rent buses out from Atlanta, Georgia, from in Florida, from the Carolinas, all along the East Coast, of people that used to make field trips to cookies. So the first time I actually saw it, I said, this is bizarre, this is crazy. And I wasn't really a computer guy, tech guy at all. I had trouble turning on a computer. My wife could attest to that. I was always the kid that really didn't know how to use the computer in the computer lab, always was asking for help. So I put my mind to it, and we did it.
On January 3rd, 2009, a man by the name of Satoshi Nakamoto invented a currency called Bitcoin. 131 lines of code, and it's a protocol in which money transfers can be taken out of the hands of the banking infrastructure and put in the hands of the people that use the currency. I know that's a lot to understand, and I didn't understand it at first at the beginning. What my company does is we act as a financial clearinghouse for this currency. People are buying and selling different currencies for Bitcoin and between and within exchanges all over the world, and we kind of act as the financial arms for this exchanges. People give us money in their local currency, and we give them credit on the exchange so they can start trading currency through Forex via trading platforms or through the brokerage houses themselves. So it's kind of, if you think about it, if you know Forex markets and trading floors, you have the currency markets. Bitcoin, as well as other alternative currencies like Second Life, Linden Dollar. I don't know if anyone plays video games. Second Life is a virtual world that was the first one to start, and that currency trades on these exchanges, and we're talking about millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars every day, every week, and every month through these currency markets. How did we start the company? That's a very good question. Up until a year ago, June 1st of last year, my partner and our CTO, Gareth Nelson, he came up with the idea to using a reserve-based system, essentially having money in bank accounts all over the world, a lot of it, and in 13 or 14 different currencies, and being able to, if someone gives you money here, you give them money there. So obviously it's a very capital-intensive business. It relies on our software, which does everything pretty much automated, and we charge a transaction fee for it. Before doing BitInstant, which we're going up on our we've been doing business 8 months, but a year through all developer and everything. I had an e-commerce deal-a-day site called dailycheckout.com. We just sold it after 3 years, and that's where I made all my mistakes and learned how to run a business and everything like that. I started that through college. Baruch actually rejected me, so they're lost.
All right, I guess I stumbled upon what I do now. After my internships in finance, I was pretty depressed for 3 months, so I took a job as a busboy in Rutgers at this place called Old Man Rafferty's, and I don't know, you get really in shape when you're, cleaning the tables all day. But my mother was like, "What are you doing? You're a nice Jewish kid. You should be cleaning tables. You should start a business." So she told me about her friend, my sister's friend, who was in Italy, and he was buying pocketbooks from Versace and Gucci and reselling them online. So my mother was shopping one day, and she saw pocketbooks at Value City department store. So it was an amazing opportunity that I had. I just noticed that I was buying pocketbooks for maybe $80 that were 2 years, out of style, and I was selling them online, all on a credit card. I mean, I had no money, but I made $60,000 when I was 21 years old, and I everything could be returned within 30 days, but I would sell everything within, a week or less. So after that, my best friend that was going to the University of Pittsburgh, he said, I just went to a bar mitzvah and I sat next to Craig from Craigslist, and he has this website in San Francisco and it's going to be big, so let's do the same thing. So I started a site like that and was trying to go for everything that they were going for, dating, housing, and it's really hard to have a site and focus on everything. I guess their site grew organically, through suggestions, but I was trying to grow something really fast, and I found out, like, in college, when everyone was looking for internships, they had a hard time. And we went to Rutgers University, and all the jobs were going to NYU and Columbia. I guess that's what New York employers thought to post their jobs. And, there'd be 4,000 internships at NYU, and like no one would even log in and apply to these jobs. So what I did was I would contact all these employers and say, post on my site. So I was just doing a job website basically for New York college students, and it's pretty amazing, but I was getting maybe like 10, 12,000 college students from New York City logging on the site every day looking for jobs. And one day I was like, what does everyone really want on the site? And they were searching for like fashion jobs, event planning jobs, photography jobs, and once I found out that information, I thought of the concept of, Creative Job Central, which was like a site where people were looking for jobs in artistic fields, and then like it really grew much faster, but I had, a problem getting to the business model, which was usually charging employers, and I found a way to charge job seekers, and, a very profitable business was born from that.
Hi, I'm Jojo. That bio was actually my partner's, but we'll go with it. I have a little bit of a different story. I got involved with my partner, who is the CEO of Enrollment. We went to Israel for the year. We were the only two kids with Blackberries in yeshiva, so our rabbi's like, you two get together. So after his first failed business attempt, we learned a couple things. One is the development process is tough. Developing anything is tough, and especially going to development companies is not always the best way to do things. They charge, a ton of money, and things don't happen the way you want it. And making your own content is not the type of business you want to do. Like the successful businesses like Facebook, Twitter is all user generated. So we decided that we're gonna, get together our own incubator and get an all-star team of, our own engineers, designers, and business development, and basically take ideas from the outside and run with them at a pretty fast pace to see what hits. Someone came to us with an idea that they want to unsubscribe from all their newsletters in one spot, and we ran with it. I guess after about a month, we filed something called the Lean Startup. You should all get the book by Eric Ries, which basically shows ways, and he introduces philosophy to just get something up there to the users very, very fast, because you don't know what users want. So if you spend time developing something and then you put it out there because you think what they want and they want something totally different, it can really hurt. You spend a ton of money that you shouldn't spend. So we got this quick site up with Enroll Me that it unsubscribed you from like 30% of the things. We told everybody it was 100%, and it really hit. It went viral on social media, and we had over 50,000 signups in like 2 weeks. So after that, we ended up hiring a few more people and really focusing in on the technology, and I guess that's where we are today.
I also have to echo Al, I can't accept the label tech star. My company is very, very young, but maybe a rising star, and I'll hope to maybe next year be an actual star. So the idea for Indie Walls was not mine alone. Actually, a good friend of mine, a business partner, Gadi Wolf, contacted me. He had been at Cornell studying. He was in a cafe. He saw a painting on the walls of the cafe, as many of you might have seen around New York. He liked the painting. He tried to get in touch with the artist. It was difficult. Once he made contact with the artist, it was almost impossible to actually purchase the piece. They would have to meet up in person, exchange cash, which is not how anybody, under the age of 57, my dad's in the crowd, wants to pay for things. So he said, what about instituting a payment platform, building a payment platform for artists that are showing their work in alternative venues? So we started the first thing you really want to do, or the first thing we did, which turned out to be effective, was just get on the ground and start asking people about the idea. So I went to a lot of cafes around Manhattan, and I asked them if they had art for sale, how they found their artists, and found the artists, and asked them how they accepted payments. The best thing to say to a business owner, so they're not suspicious that you're trying to get rich of them, is just say that you're a student and you're doing a project for school, and they'll answer any question you have. So the idea has eventually developed into, the problem that we were trying to solve was this gap in the art market. So in the art market you have galleries that have to cover their rent, typically in Chelsea, which is anywhere from $30,000 to $50,000 a month plus. So they don't really represent artists who are selling their work for under $10,000. There are a lot of buyers for artwork in this price range, and there's nowhere for them to match up. So we said, where can we exhibit the work of these artists? How do we get the work from these artists in front of potential buyers' eyes? And what we realized was that there was this tremendous amount of wall space in kind of the public domain, so to speak, in these venues. So in the hospitality industry, in hotels and cafes and restaurants, but also in the real estate industry, retail stores, as well as commercial and residential lobbies, whose walls could really function as exhibition space. The problem would just be to match up the artists in the venues. So following from what Jojo said, Eric Rees, there's this idea that's really thrown around in the startup world called a minimally viable product, which is what Jojo was referring to, or MVP. And the concept, the notion is that you create something that's viable or minimally viable and put it out and see how it works. So what we did at first was build the software that was aesthetically not so nice, even functionally was very buggy, but it at least allowed artists to upload their work to a site and for venues to browse through them. So a restaurant in the Upper West Side can see the artwork from an artist that lives in the Lower East Side without them ever having to meet in person. And then what the website also does is it catalogs everything online and generates labels so that if you are in a restaurant and you see a piece of art that you like, you can scan the QR code on the label with your phone and everything's purchasable on the website, hoping to create a channel of distribution for artwork under $10,000.
Okay. I think one thing that's be interesting for the audience to know is what did you or could you have done prior to starting your business to help you prepare for that process? What should they be doing now if their ambition is to start a business, particularly in social media or text-based?
Money.
Coffee.
Learn how to program.
Yeah, learn how to program. There are so many free, like Code Academy, and free ways to learn how to program, like Python, or just even basic HTML, CSS. Learn any development. Ruby on Rails is really good too, because any startup or any company, if you can proficiently program the language, even basically, you have a big leg up on the job, for sure.
I think internships is a really good way, and networking, and a really good thing that I learned is that, and it's actually converse to what Charlie said, is that if you have a good product, right, and you have something that other people want, then you shouldn't have to do the coding, but you should find the investors that will propel you on that path so that you can focus on, all right, how do I grow my business? How do I get my business on the right track? Because at least in my business, probably totally not true in your business. But in my business, like if I spent my time sitting by a computer coding and programming, which I could probably do all day long and have a blast at it, I wouldn't actually make any real money. But if you have something good, I love programming. But if you have something good, then you really need to take yourself out of the picture and take a step back and say, all right, how do I bring this into fruition? But I don't think that's answering the question. But the question was, sorry, I went off on a tangent, but I would definitely say an internship. Like I have interns now, one of whom is in the crowd, and the way we try to structure our internship program by us is, what do you need to learn over the course of the internship that you would be able to go out and start your own business? So from the bottom up, and that's what you guys should really be looking at. Like, how can I enter into a situation where in a year or two or whatever it is from now, I can learn how to do this by myself?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I would say, don't speculate how you're gonna make money. Just try business models. Keep trying. You don't have to say, oh, I'm gonna be free for a year. I just keep trying anything. It doesn't really matter. Like with this MVP, if you have like a content site or a service, I mean, just keep trying business models. We tried things like, we get 2% of your salary if you get a job. If you get an interview, you get paid, or if someone reads your resume, you get charged every time an employer reads your resume. But maybe we tried 10 business models till we found something that really made much more money than the rest, and it doesn't cost that much to put a concept up online on Google and see what bites.
It's true, your monetization model shouldn't be your main priority. In fact, how to make money from this shouldn't even be your main priority in the beginning. If you saw the Facebook movie when Eduardo wanted to start selling ads on, it's a true story, selling ads on the site, Mark said, no way, like we don't even know what it is yet. How are you supposed to try to make money? When you have a startup, especially within the first 12 months, you have no idea what it's going to grow into. Most companies like you see today, Twitter, and so many of them, they don't do what they do today, what they were trying to set out to do when they first started.
Yeah, and just to disagree a little bit with my awesome neighbor Al. I guess like e-commerce is very different than the tech world in general. But the one thing I've learned, and I'm actually taking a programming class, spending a ton of money doing it 2 days a week, 3 hours each day, learning how to program now, is because not only if you're on the business end of things, of a startup, you need to know everything that's going on. Like e-commerce is simple, but when you're building a technology, you really have to know what's going on, but at the same time, you don't have to rely on other people. You want something built, you go and you build it. You get that MVP up so you can show it to anybody. If you go in the startup world and you're walking around, like a month ago we had an event at Armory across the street. There are 3,000 people, there are 175 startups.
It's awesome.
You can go to any single startup and every single person's hiring an engineer. If you know how to program, you can get any internship, you can get paid good salary and learn, from the top, and then end up building things on your own. It's most successful, even CEOs of startups know how or have a very good understanding of how to program. But what should everyone be doing now? I would say one is at least get a good understanding of technology, and two, it's all the hard work. And ideas, everyone has ideas. You go around, everyone has an idea. It's whoever executes it the right way. And back to the Facebook movie, the Winklevoss twins, whatever you call those guys, they had an idea, but Zuckerberg was the guy that was able to take that idea, put it on paper, and execute it well. And execution in the tech world is really what's valuable.
But even if you're learning to become a developer and learning code like Jojo is doing, it doesn't mean that you're going to work in a code-based position. Most people won't. I'm hiring a marketing communications person. One of the things we have on our job description is you need to have a proficient knowledge in Python. Not because you're going to be programming Python at all, you won't be writing one code, but half of our day is talking to our developers who are writing in Python and Ruby, and you need to be able to understand what they're talking about. If they come, all right, we're launching our SVN repo tomorrow, and you're marketing, you have no idea what I just said, it's like, how are you supposed to plan around that? You have to go back and talk to me and things like that. If you have an understanding of it, it's much easier to work.
I think the moral of the story is, from the panel, if you have nothing that you're doing right now, a great thing to do would be to learn how to code. But if you have a great idea and you have no idea how to code, don't take the next year or two learning how to program. You could do it without knowing even the basic knowledge. I still don't know anything about programming. And we were able to, we got lucky in finding someone that could build it for us, and it definitely would have been, we would have made a lot less mistakes had either my co-founder or I understood a level of programming. But it's not essential, so if you have a great idea and you want to start it, and you could surround yourself with experts, and that's just as good as being an expert, or almost as good.
There's tens of thousands of people that will work for $1 or $2 an hour to program. If you guys hate programming, I hate programming.
Did any of you start your businesses with a really clear idea of what your business model was and what you thought your financial results would be? Or were all of these sort of tests, that you put something out and you saw how it worked, you evolved as it went along, you never really did detailed financial projections. Is that a fair statement for everybody?
Our projections were so off. Like, how much we say we make in the first month was like just not accurate.
Right, right.
We can never project.
So when I first started, so I started my website in 2006, and when I first came into the business, I was looking at old business plans and old financial models from guys that tried to start this business for my company in the 90s, and I laughed because their first year revenue projection was like $15 million in 1998 online, so it was a joke. So from there I learned that like one of the biggest reasons they failed is because they set extremely unrealistic expectations for business. And also my partners would have never let me get away, because they were the funding partners, get away with not having a strong business plan, and I think it really helped me get to the next level of where I needed to be, because I always had a clear focus of, okay, and again, I'm not a tech star, so this is very different than their answer probably, but I knew, okay, this is how much money my rent is, and this is how much money this, and my electric and my utilities, and my cost of merchandise, so I had a very clear understanding of what my hard costs were, and what my fixed costs were, and some costs were, and then I knew, okay, you know, this is how much revenue I have to do. So I tried just to cover half of my expenses my first year, because I knew it was unrealistic to think I was going to break even, and then I created like a 3-year projection into the future where I would break even on the 3rd year. And by the way, that was because I went to these type of panels and heard people like in the same industry speak and say, oh, it took me, you know, 2, 3, 4, 5 years to break even. So I was able to use that as a trajectory for myself to say, okay, you know, after 3 years is realistic, so that really helped my projections, and it was closer to where I would have been if I didn't hear that advice.
So I say business plan, very important. Financial projections, most people in the startup world don't even call them projections. You just say it's financial guessing, and that's really what it is. And oftentimes, VCs won't even ask for it. At the end of the day, you're pitching an idea. Well, oftentimes in startups, the kind of trajectory that you go on is that you kind of build something with some amount of money, kind of bootstrap, as it's called, and then you seek outside funding. You're oftentimes going to them with an idea, and even more importantly, you're going to them with a team, whether it's yourself, oftentimes with 1 or up to 4 people, I guess, or. And it's not so important that you can say, well, in year 3, we're going to be making X amount of dollars. I mean, look at Instagram just as kind of a hot topic. They didn't make any money, so kind of Charlie, what you were saying before, it's not about making money right away. And those guys just made it, and everyone around them just made a lot of money.
You know, I guess it really depends on what your business does. You know, like when you're an e-commerce site, measuring those things do matter, and even in like, you know, stuff like Indie World, when you know from day one how much value you can get from each user, it matters. But like, let's say a company like mine, which I actually didn't even explain, which basically a user logs in, we generate a list of all the newsletters that user gets in subscription. So people get emails from Facebook, Groupon, Living Social, and stuff like that. Then from our platform, you can press minus to unsubscribe from anything you want. And then the things that you do want, you press plus, and we send you 1 daily email. Instead of getting all those emails from Groupon, Facebook, we send you 1 email. So for us, that's what's valuable, is each user is valuable. So we don't have to think about, okay, we need to make $3 million this year. We have to think about, we have to acquire 20 million users this year, and then we're worth X amount of money, like Instagram did. And basically, once you have the users, you figure out how to make money, and that's the way of the tech world right now.
Yeah, I mean, which is why if you come to tomorrow's AT&T pitch competition, it's a pitch competition rather than presenting full-blown business plans, exactly, you know, for this reason. How many of you have raised money from, you know, professional capital sources, banks, venture capital, private equity, you know, other than friends and family, people who would invest in your business because they love you, but would invest in it because they saw it as a professional opportunity? Any of you raised that kind of capital? And tell us what you did and what that process was like.
So to start the company, I put in my life savings at the time, about $10,000 a couple of years ago to start. We run a very capital-intensive business, so we need money to make money, meaning that our daily revenue, we need to have double that amount of money in our bank accounts across the world. So we were doing a couple thousand a day, and when you're raising money, just a side point, just to what Ari said, investors and VCs also like to see revenue and growth models. So if you can say, this is how much we're making now, this is how much revenue we're doing right now, but this is our growth potential or growth pattern, that's also worth a lot of money to them. Because VCs, they don't want people coming up to them and saying, I have this idea, I need you to help me make money. They want people coming and saying to them, hey, I'm already making money, I need you to make more money. That's what VCs want. And that's what essentially we had to do to tell them. So bootstrapping, it's a very, very difficult way, or getting money from family and friends, it's a very difficult way to start a business, because you have, I guess, like your house on the line in a way, or your family's money on the line. So when we were doing a lot more volume, we almost came to a point where we had to stop processing orders because we didn't have enough money. And I just went on this spree talking to everyone I know, I need money. I need money. And I knew nothing of the VC process of raising money, or what round A or round B was, or Series B or Series D, whatever the seed fund. I don't know anything about that. Wikipedia was my best friend that night. So we ended up doing a seed round. I went on a few internet TV shows. I explained my business model, and I literally raised up my hand, and I put my phone number, and I said, I need money, please call me. And the next day, I had this guy from Japan call me up, and he led our seed round, and we raised a little over 100K. And now we're actually hopefully closing our second round, which we're going to be raising a lot more.
And if I could just speak to that, because the business where I come from, Cookie's Kids, so we don't raise any outside funds. But now, for the first time in my life, over the last 6 months, I've been entering different strategic partnerships with different kinds of companies. Some focusing as a partner, and some focusing as a broker, or just raising funds or collecting commission. And something that resonates with me from college, and what I think was really one of the most important lessons I ever learned in college, and it really had to be drilled in my head 1,000,000 times over, was networking. So I'm just going to explain it because I remember what it was when I was in college, and I really couldn't understand the importance of it, or what it was all about, or what it meant for my future, but it's everything. So if you don't know how to network, if you don't know who to network is with, if you don't make an effort, and I'm probably talking to the wrong people because you guys are all here tonight, but if you don't make a real effort to meet the right people, it's not going to work. So I'll give you guys a great example. I was just happened to lose this girl that was working for me. She decided on the drop of a coin she was moving to Europe, and she was the director of social for my business. So I reached out to a contact who I met from a network, and I said, hey, I'm looking to hire this person, this position. And he said, you know what, why don't you speak to this guy, Ted Rubin. Ted Rubin is the #1 most influential CMO, Chief Marketing Officer on Twitter. He has over 75,000 followers with a total reach that expands over 10 million people. So I spoke to him, and we had coffee, and it was very nice, and I wasn't going to pay $80,000 to have somebody run my marketing. You know, not in-house, just for like 2 months on a campaign. So I met him, I was nice to him, he was nice to me. Then he joined a company called Collective Bias, which you guys should Google and look into because it's going to be huge. Founded by the former director of emerging media for Walmart. So he goes to work for them, they call me, say, hey, you know, we want to meet with you. From that, just that one small piece of networking, I learned how to raise money. I raised my first $10 million in less than a month. All these crazy things happened, and I formed 2 new partnerships, and just from networking, So really, that's a very important lesson. So that you can't always rely on family, which I did, and I'm so happy you asked this question because my whole business life, which is short, but all I know how to do is rely on family. Oh, I need more money. You know, here's my projections. Here, you know, Dad, here, Uncle Cookie. You know, give me more money now, or we don't have any money to run. So that's the most important thing I learned this year. Network. and expand out of your family, or else you really have very limited resource unless, you know, your family's last name is Gates or something.
And we were also in a unique situation. My partner's father owns a hedge fund, and he helped us out to get where we are now. And we're actually in the process of raising outside money, but mainly for the fact of strategic partnerships, that when these outside investors come in, we bring a group of basically 50 other contacts with them that will help you get to the level that you want to get to. But it all does start with networking. Most of these investors, most of these VCs have come to us after, you know, speaking at events like this and having VCs in the crowd and just going to these tech events. You know, I get emails. If anyone wants to come to me after, I can show you lists that send out emails of tech events in New York. And basically, there are VCs and there are angels at all these events. You know what I mean? So just meeting people that can introduce you to other guys. That's all this tech world is about. But at the same time, if you don't have that family money to start with, and that's where I do stress programming. If you just have an idea and you go to a VC, the guy's taking most of your company, and it's going to be very, very hard to start. But if you can get that thing started, and you can get something started on your own, and without money you can't hire a programmer, especially good ones. You know, like a good programmer these days, if you want to build a good technology, goes for over $120,000. So if you don't have that money and you know how to build something yourself and get something out there, and you start going to these tech events and you network your butts off, you'll get in front of as many VCs as you want. Like, I guess fortunately these days it's so easy to raise money in the tech world. If you have any idea and you know how to program, anyone can get money.
But be careful, you don't want to take the wrong deal. Be very, very, very careful. You don't want to give away too much equity. You don't want to give away too many board seats. You don't want to give away voting rights. I mean, the money may look good on paper, but you can always get a better deal, because at the end of the day, these guys want you more than you want them. You may think that you need them, but you can get good deals.
Yeah, the other thing is, it's not as if you go to a networking event, meet a VC, and they're gonna, you know, you may sit down with them even the next day, and they're gonna invest money into your company. Oftentimes, the way it works is they'll meet you, they'll meet your team. So you have an interesting idea. Now we're gonna watch you guys. So we'll touch base in 4 months from now. So don't wait right until you're ready. Actually, especially if you're just starting to work an idea, or you have something that you can show, even a team, even kind of a prototype, whatever that might be. Try and get in touch, start networking now, and try and sit down with these people, and then, you know, you'll get back to them in 3, 4, 6 months from now.
New Jersey Tech Meetup, New York Tech Meetup. There are so many. Just go to meetup.com and type in your zip code and create an account. It'll show you every tech or every type of meetup for, even if you like to carve pottery or whatever. They will have meetups for that. Jojo and I did a crazy event at New York Tech Day, which they charged everyone $300, and you got an 8x8 booth just to show off your product or your website or whatever you have. There were over 300 companies there, and they had like a 2-hour investor hour. And I can't tell you how many VCs and investors just walk up and you're repeating yourself over and over and over again on your feet all day, networking, meeting hundreds and hundreds of people for $300, and that's it. So all these events are really worth it. Just get out there, like Al said, meet people, talk to people, talk, email back and forth. There's no end, Twitter, everything. You'll never know where you'll get that connection from. It's crazy, because you'll think that you have these 9 guys and give you the best connections, and they end up not coming through. And you have that one like clutch guy or whatever that comes through, and you never have predicted it. Never leave anyone behind.
I think, yeah, networking is the best thing. You have to, really, the Angel Fund is amazing. Erwin is the best. He introduced me to, you know, Alan Levy. First of all, he was like an advisor, and he was teaching me from day one, like, how to convert people into paying users. And even if you want to meet someone that, you know, the Angel Fund doesn't know, they're like a professional, trusted source. Like, I got this guy, Murray Hittery. I always knew that I saw like a name that I knew on one of the boards, like on Yahoo Finance, Murray Hittery, and I recognized the last name. And he was running Dice.com. It's like $500 million business. And Erwin got him on the phone and said, meet with Jonathan. And, you know, I would meet with him, and he gave me ideas on how to, you know, get the business bigger. There's just so many ways that, you know, networking works. I have a friend that he's in real estate, and, you know, if I see someone wants to like, you know, buy a building or invest in real estate, I send it to my friend Jonathan. I mean, I called Jonathan, I said, oh, my brother wants a job. My brother works for my friend for 5 days, Eric, right there. He got a building sold after 5 days for $7 million from my friend. My friend then introduced me to a guy my age. He's like 31. He just sold his business for $50 million, and he's in a business just like mine now. He bought into Backstage.com, and he's teaching me everything, you know, I could see from someone that's amazing, a turnaround expert. How do they run their business? So, just like, don't be afraid. If someone needs help, send them to someone else, and you know, you'll get back, you know, networking opportunities as well.
My last question before we open it up to the audience is, put modesty aside. What do you imagine your business could be in 5 years or 10 years? And do you see a clear exit for you? Is this something you want to do for the rest of your life, or do you see this as a relatively short-term venture and then you're going to move on to the next thing?
I guess I'll start on this one. Well, I would say with us, like, we want to disrupt the email space. We want to basically make an easy way for people to discover newsletters and organize their email, because, you know, I guess someone gave me this analogy a while back and I use it a lot. Basically, before Google, the internet was a mess. You want to find something about sports, you want to find something about the New York Jets or the Giants, you can't just go to Google and find news sites that do that. So it basically made browsing the web very, very hard. Google came along and now everyone browses. Email is basically what's the most important thing on, what I say, the most important thing on the internet today. Last year alone, $68.7 billion was spent over email marketing. People like these email ads, and people do like buying things through email. But right now, email's a mess, and we're trying to solve that. So, you know, I would say 5 years from now, hopefully I sell for like $2 billion at least. But at least, but you know, I guess our goal is taking email to the next level, making it a pleasant thing, something that you can look at categories and find new things that you would be interested in. You know, if I'm subscribed to Living Social, maybe there are other daily deal sites that I would like. But I guess like in this crazy tech world right now, and people valuing having these valuation on companies which don't really make sense. Like we haven't made $1, we just spend money, and already VCs are valuing our company at over $5 million, which to me doesn't make sense, but that's how the tech world is. So it's, to me, it's get it to a point where it's worth a nice amount of money and then sell it off and move on to the next thing.
I think it is a problem right now in the tech world that there is this emphasis on big exits. Everyone's looking at who made money from all these IPOs, who made money from Facebook, who made money from Groupon, who made money from Zynga, and people made a lot of money. And I think that some entrepreneurs who are looking to start new businesses are focused on, well, what will the exit strategy be? Because a good business is only one with a strong exit strategy. Personally, we started Duals, and still up until this point, we don't know what an exit strategy would really be. We could be in 100 or 500,000 venues in the world selling millions of artists' work, and still I don't know who a potential buyer that, maybe Sotheby's, maybe Christie's, maybe Amazon wants to make art. And we never really see a potential exit, but that exit, we also don't know what we're going to be doing in 3 years from now. And businesses change. Just so you guys know, Instagram didn't start as Instagram, and a lot of VCs actually, it was called Audio, I think, and it designed totally different. But if Instagram probably wouldn't have happened had the founders of Audio was like, startups aren't for me, and go to law school.
I read this book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I've heard about it for like 6 years and I've never read it. I just read it maybe a month ago, and it's really amazing. It just tells you that pick an amount of money you want by the time you want to make it and how you're going to do it. And I read the book and I have like a goal now. And I wake up every day and everything, everything that is involved in the business, I put it towards like the goal. And I mean, I think it's more exciting going to work thinking you have a goal to sell your company than to just go to work and say, oh, what can I do today to make a little bit more money?
I think where I hope to be is developed my company to the point where it's a cushion. So it's the first company I ever built, so I don't really want to let go of it because it's my baby. So what I'm really trying to do is build something where I can have enough revenue to be comfortable with, and then take the rest of the money that I might have and invest and become partners in start other things that I can focus on, stuff like exit strategies and stuff. And also, just a word of caution, we're in a crazy tech world like these guys are telling you. And I'm seeing it every day. These companies are selling and raising money like it's water in the tech industry. Anytime you see anything like that, it's a huge red flag. So just be careful, especially if you're going to invest, have something, whatever it is, get into something, put your life savings into something. It's only a matter of time. Look at the history, right? Your history teachers will love this. Yeah, it's really a bubble ready to burst. It could only sustain for so long. So really be careful, right? Wait it out, be patient. Don't put, at the same time, going hard, but never spend more money on an investment unless you're young and you don't have kids and stuff. That's really good advice that somebody gave me. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. So for me, I'm just trying to, build my business to the point where I don't have to worry, and then I can focus on other things. But anybody want to offer me a few $100 million for my business? I'll take it, no problem.
So the exit strategy for daily checkout was just, let's start shipping, let's get to a point where we could be shipping 1,500 to 2,000 boxes a day. And then eventually we'll be big enough to sell out to like a innovative commerce solutions type company, or a company that just buys up these e-commerce sites or Internet Brands Inc. and owns them and runs them in their infrastructure. Or make enough money where we could hire people to run the company and we can all move on to other things. New currency, so I'm pitching a whole new industry. So it's like twofold. Right now, we'll either be competing against Western Union or MoneyGram, or one of these worldwide remittance companies that, that's $1 trillion industry right there, sending money. How many of our housekeepers send money home to their families in Mexico every week? It's a crazy industry. So if I can even have like 0.001 of that market share, I'll be chilling in like LA in a nice mansion on the beach. So either I get bought out by one of those guys, I focus on one corridor, like we're trying to work with Somalia right now and Kenya, because they're 90%, not 90%, but like 60% of their citizens don't even have paper money. They transact via the cell phone networks. So our currency is it's an internet currency. It's a digital currency. So there's no need to print actual money. So that can be a new route for us. Or we're talking to these guys who have this crazy Russian technology. They're flying us out to Austria in a couple of weeks, where it's like they developed this credit card that has a computer chip built into it that can hold like 16 different credit cards on that one card. So maybe we'll take over distribution for that card, which they want us to do. Who knows? It's such a crazy world. I don't like to think about what the exit strategy is here, because I don't really want to have an exit. I love what I do.
Yeah, basically, you never know, so you just go with it day by day.
Okay, let's open it up. Anyone have any questions? So if either come to the mic or speak really loudly. Yes, sir.
So, is this on? Okay. So, with reference to the getting users and then figuring out the business model, certainly there are a bunch of people who are making a bunch of money doing that, but how much money in total is actually being made doing that? Like, if you look at online advertising, say, which, made Google rich, made Facebook rich, makes Instagram rich indirectly through Facebook, and makes all these social media companies rich, it gets all the publicity, but if you look at the actual numbers, it's only like 0.2% of the economy. And the other 99.8% is, for the most part, selling things like directly to users. Like you sell food, you sell hotel space, you sell hard drive space like Dropbox does, and they're really big now. So the question is like, how successful can that business model actually be in the long term as a larger percentage of the economy?
Yeah, I read that the only business models that exist are subscription and commerce. The only alternative ways that are making a lot of money is Google and Facebook.
And even those companies, they're huge now, but just I'll stress it again, look at the history of our country and of the globe. I mean, they don't really have a sustained, Google and Facebook are the exception, fine. But this business model in general, like you were bringing out, it like doesn't really have, like look at Groupon, perfect example. All they want is users. All they want is users. They lose so much money every day because their business model basically requires tons and tons of salespeople to go door to door, to business, to try to get these deals.
They lose merchants' money too. It's ridiculous.
They're going to end up owing hundreds of billions of dollars to the government in tax money that they're never going to be able to pay. It's just like all these businesses, you're right, like they don't really, doesn't really seem like it's practical. Maybe we just don't understand it. But I would agree with that, you know, 0.2% of the economy, the odds against you, you're looking at 2 or 3 or 4 big, huge companies that everybody knows their names. There's probably about 4 billion others that nobody ever heard of that are all trying to do the same thing. So, caution.
But advertising in general can make a lot of money if it's done the right way. Like I guess like going into this business, I always thought like, who the hell clicks on those Facebook ads? But that's where they make all their revenue. And I think since January that actually went up 20%. And it's really all about the information that these companies get about their users. Like Facebook knows everything about their users. And I guess that's like, you know, really a direction that we're going. Is, you know, Facebook has data that users basically put in and they can see who they're friends with and how old they are and what they like. You know, it's the same with us, is that we have access to people's inboxes. So we know what they're buying, we know what they're staying subscribed to, what they're unsubscribing from. So from this type of activity, you basically profile users and that you know how to target users. You know, and the ad business has been around for a long time and it will always be around. It's just, you have to get really, really targeted. And as times keep going on and more companies know more and more about users, you have to, you know, be a step ahead of the game with that information. And you know, if you're not, then you definitely will fail. But if you know enough about each user, then you know targeted ads really do work, and you can build a sustainable business around that.
It's kind of scary though. I mean, the fact that I'm using Unrolling, and you're creating a whole profile based on me, and like you don't even know me. Well, you know me, but and then you're selling my information to someone. So I'm going to go on and I'm going to go on. You ever go to a website like Amazon.com, right? And you guys see this all the time. And you look at a product, let's just say a book that you want to buy on Amazon.com, and you close the page and you go on later. And then you start going on different websites like Facebook or just different websites to read stuff, or the news, the BBC, or whatever. And you see the ad for that book on every single website. It's like, how the hell are they following me? It's called retargeting. They capture your cookie data and they follow you along. So it's kind of similar. What you can do is you can create a profile based on a person and then start sending them retargeted ads based on that. I mean, there's so much potential, and as you get more and more targeted, the value of that profile is worth a lot more. The reason Facebook CPC, cost per click, is so expensive, it's like 35 cents for some words, is because now I can go and I can say, all right, Facebook, I want to put an ad on a Facebook profile of someone who's recently got engaged. They said no because the ring wasn't too big. The ring wasn't big enough. So now I'm going to put an ad as a jewelry store, and I'm going to say, hey, husband, buy your wife a bigger ring, or something like that. Because you can get really targeted. It's a really bad analogy, I know, but whatever.
I think seriously, I know you guys don't agree with me, but I think business model is so important. You could look at, like, just right away, you can try business models out. Look at plentyoffish.com, it's a dating site. It has like 6 million, 7 million visitors a day, whatever it is, and Match.com about the same. Match.com makes about $350 million a year. Plenty of Fish makes about $15 million, maybe from ads, but they have a lot of employees. So just by the way you charge your users, it's going to be totally different. Like, your Unroll Me, if you were a $5 app, you could make a lot more money than ads. I mean, I would say, whatever idea you have, you tweak your model, you could, the amount of money you can make can vary so greatly.
To go from like a percentage fee system or a flat fee based system, you're constantly changing back and forth, and your users are getting mad. Like, so you gotta just keep trying things out, figure out ways to make money, but never settle on one unless you're for sure. and especially in the first year or so, because you don't know what it is. It's like a baby. It is your baby.
A big aspect of all you guys do is you guys sacrifice a lot for your idea. So can you guys talk about what you had to sacrifice or what you're still sacrificing to follow your dream or your idea?
My social life.
My entire life. To wake up early, don't really sleep. You know, you shower, you're thinking about your company. My girlfriend hates me because I never talk to her anymore. Same with Howard's fiance, I'll talk to him on that one. You know, it's really, it's like I said before, it's all about the work you put into it. If you're going to be that lazy guy that comes in at 10 o'clock and leaves at 5 o'clock, you have no chance in this business. It's so competitive. You have to come in early and leave late. You know, I wake up at, you know, late at 7, 10 every single day. I get to work and then coming home is, you know, my parents haven't seen me in 3 months. You know, so it's getting home between 10 and 12 sometimes every single day.
Working hours doesn't exist. The concept of work, one customer emailed us at like 10 o'clock at night and we responded to him within a couple minutes. He's like, whoa, I don't know you guys are working right now. It's like, working hours? We don't speak of such things here.
Yes, sir.
I have a very neat little idea that saves a lot of paper, saves a lot of water. It's a packaging idea. I want to know how I can get consumer movement to push it. I have found a way to substitute for the stuffing paper that goes into every handbag, backpack, duffel bag, etc. And it amounts to roughly a couple of billion bags a year. I can make them shippable at half the cost. And I want to know how I can start a consumer movement to bug the handbag manufacturers and retailers. Let's use a more environmentally friendly way to package. Can you
Create a prototype. Create a prototype.
I have a prototype.
Can we see it?
I can hook you up.
You should go to a lot of these tech meetups or just any meetups pertaining to paper and water and environmental friendly stuff and just pitch it. Pitch it, pitch it, pitch it, pitch it, pitch it. All day.
Well, I pitched it and I almost had JCPenney and then it took too long because the units were incredible. So this goes into a handbag or a backpack or a duffel and then we make it different shapes. And there's a little spring in this part of the cardboard and it forces the bag, and makes the bag possible to ship flat, compact, small kit, and then by itself it opens the bag and the store. Looks gorgeous. This one was made for a guy named Mark Jacobs. You can make it for your company, or your company, or your company, or your company. But it's not going to happen unless I get the consumer movement started. There's a way to save paper, let's save paper, because I can save a tremendous, I can save 1 million trees a year.
So I'm in retail, so a lot of the stuff we have to do is like, so I was speaking to somebody earlier, let's say I work for Walmart. Let's say I'm Samsung, right?
You make a
The
lot of
company I
money.
spoke to recently about how does Samsung get a consumer that walks into Walmart to buy a Samsung TV versus a Sony TV or a Philips TV or anything else, right? So it's the same question that you have. How do I get my product into the consumer's mind, and how do I inject that idea, and how do I really change the way people think? So I think there's 2 immediate things you can do. One is keep going to the JCPenney's of the world, and they don't have to be huge, and see what they think. Let them tweak it, right? Let them tweak it, and then also there's a lot of social communities out there. So partner with somebody that really understands blogging, community, online communities. There's a lot of them where you could really inject that product out there. So it might cost capital. So maybe you have to buy some cheap bags and put it in there and send the bags off to some moms or something, mommy bloggers, and say, hey, what do you think of this?
I don't make bags.
I'm saying, but you can buy cheap bags, right? $5, $10 bags in Chinatown or something. Stuff that in there. You know, make one for those bags, and then try to collect consumer data. So send these out to influential people, right? Influential online bloggers, and say, hey, what do you think of this? And then take that data and take it back to JCPenney and say, I know you didn't like this, but look at the feedback I'm getting, or I know you didn't buy into this, or whatever it might be. I don't know, but once you have your hands on real people data in this world, and the world I'm in, like once you could sustain your business model with actual people talking good about it and saying this is the greatest thing ever, it becomes much easier to sell the product.
Okay, we've run past our time, but let me, thank our panel for their candor, for their wisdom, for sharing their information about their experience. Although, we'll wrap up the formal part of the process, anyone here who wants to network with these guys should take advantage of this time to do that. So thank you very much for coming to Baruch and participating in this, and we hope to see you back here. Thank you.